So, according to Nolan, 2005, what is interpretation and how does it differ from translation? So, in his book, The Translator Invisibility and a History of Translation, Lawrence Venuti defines that interpretation as a process of rendering spoken or signed messages into a different language, either concurrently with the original or at a later time, in a way that conveys the same meaning and intent as the original. Is on the page 7. Also, the interpretation is usually done in real time. In situations where people who do not speak the same language need to communicate with each other. This can happen in a variety of settings, such as conferences, legal proceedings, or medical appointments. Interpretation can be done in person or remotely using teleconferencing technology. Well, translation, on the other hand, is the process of rendering written text from one language into another. Well, translation is typically done at a later time and does not involve the immediate interpretation of the spoken language. Translation is used to produce written materials that can be read by speakers of different languages. Well, such as books, websites, or other written documents. And well, in summary, interpretation involves the immediate rendering of spoken language into another language, while translation involves the rendering of written language into another language at a later time. Uh, Position from government. Government should not increase the fuel price. So in Indonesia, saya pikir pemerintah tidak seharusnya menaikkan harga BBM, karena hal ini akan membebani masyarakat yang sudah terpinggirkan. Mereka sudah mengalami banyak kesulitan ekonomi selama pandemi ini, dan menaikkan harga BBM hanya akan memperburuk situasi mereka. Selain itu, terdapat banyak cara lain untuk menutupi hutang negara tanpa harus membebani rakyat. In English, I think the government should not increase the fuel prices because this will burden marginalized communities. They have already experienced a lot of economic hardship during the pandemic, and increasing the fuel prices will only worsen the situation. In addition, there are many other ways to cover national debt without burdening the people. Position, the government should increase fuel prices. In Indonesia, saya pikir pemerintah harus menaikkan harga BBM karena hal ini akan memberikan sumber pendapatan yang signifikan bagi negara. Selain itu, menaikkan harga BBM dapat meningkatkan laju pertumbuhan ekonomi yang akan menguntungkan seluruh rakyat di kemudian hari. Tentu saja, pemerintah harus memberikan bantuan kepada masyarakat yang kurang mampu selama proses ini untuk meminimalkan dampak negatifnya. In English, I think the government should increase fuel prices because this will provide a significant source of income for the country. In addition, increasing fuel prices can increase economic growth, which will benefit the entire population in the long run. Well, of course, the government should provide assistance to those who are less able during this process to minimize the negative impacts. Good evening, everyone. Today, I would like to speak to you about the importance of preserving biological diversity and protecting endangered species, even if it means sacrificing economic growth and jobs. First of all, it's important to recognize that the loss of species has serious consequences for our planet and its ecosystem. Each species plays a unique role in its ecosystem, and the loss of even one species can have a ripple effects throughout the entire system. For example, the loss of a keystone species such as a predator or a pollinator can lead destabilization the entire of ecosystem. Well, furthermore, the global biodiversity assessment, which was compiled by 1,500 scientific experts from around the world, shows that the rate of species extinction has increased significantly in recent history. In the 200 years from 1810 to the present, 112 species became extinct compared to just 38 species in the preceding 200 years. This is a clear indication that we are facing a crisis of biodiversity loss and we need to take urgent action to protect endangered species. It's also important to consider the moral and ethical implication of species extinction. Every species has the right to exist and thrive, and it's our responsibility to ensure that they are able to do so. Allowing species to go extinct simply because it might be inconvenient or costly to protect them is unacceptable. Well, of course, it's natural to be concerned about the potential economic consequences of protecting endangered species. However, the reality is that the long-term benefits of preserving biodiversity far outweigh the short-term costs. Protecting endangered species can actually lead to economic growth in the long run, as it can create new industries such as ecotourism and lead to the development of new technologies and innovations. Well, in conclusion, preserving biological diversity and protecting endangered species is crucial for the health and well-being of our planet and its ecosystem. While it may be difficult to make necessary sacrifices in the short term, the long-term benefits of preserving the biodiversity far outweigh the cost. We have moral and ethical obligation to protect endangered species, and we must do so even if it means sacrificing economic growth and jobs in the process. Thank you, everyone. The basic phrase structure of the sentence is tegugur ta angin. Nah, kunaon jadi dewek nu kantampuhan buntut maung tegeningan sakin. The meaning of the proverb is no leader is perfect. They all have their flaws, but we should still respect them for their service to the country. Well, some possible translation of this sentence into English are, why do you become a leader with the tail of a tiger, Sarkin, if you can withstand the wind and the rain? The second, Sarkim, why do you try to be a leader if you can't handle the challenges and endure the hardship? Third, Sarkim, do you think you can be a leader if you can withstand the winds and the rain? And the fourth, Sarkim, why do you aspire to be a leader if you can't endure the roughness and the hardship? Well, the second one, the basic phrase structure of the second sentence is, setiap pemimpin itu tidak ada yang sempurna. Selalu ada saja kekurangannya, tapi tanpa mengurangi rasa hormat kita kepada mereka yang telah berjasa terhadap negeri ini. Seperti pepatah mengatakan bahwa tidak ada gading yang tak retak. Well, there is some possible translation of the second sentence into English are, every leader is not perfect. They always have their flaws, but without diminishing our respect for those who have served this country. As the saying goes, there is no task that is not correct. That's the first. And the second one, no leader is perfect. They all have their weakness. But that shouldn't diminish our respect for those who have served this country. As the prophet says, there is no task that is not correct. With the third one, there is no perfect leader. They all have their shortcomings. But that doesn't mean we should lessen our respect for those who have served this country. As the saying goes, there is no task that is not correct. Well, here some example of each figure of speech in English. The idiom, the example is break a leg, bite the bullet, bend over backwards. Samile, as busy as a bee, like a fish out of water, as cold as ice. Parody, imitating a famous person's speech or mannerism in a humorous or mocking way. Paranomasia, I am like an arrow, fruits like a banana, a chicken in every pot, and a car in every garage. I'm reading A War and Peace. It's not very a long peace, just a long war. Pharesia, using explicit or offensive language to shock or surprise. Euphemism, pass away instead of die, correctional facility instead of prison, downsizing instead of firing employees. Hyperbole, example, I've told you a million times. Second, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Third, I've been waiting for this moment for eternity. And here's are some example of each figure of speech in Indonesia. Idiom, menabur garam di luka sendiri. Membanting tulang, membakar jembatan. Samile, secepat kilat, sejernih air di masa kecil, seindah bunga mawar. Parody menirukan suara atau cara berbicara orang terkenal dengan cara yang lucu atau mengejek. Paronomasia, dua telinga, satu mulut, lari secepat kilat, tidur sekencang batu, pelajar yang baik, tidur di atas buku. Farhasia, menggunakan kata-kata eksplisit atau kasar untuk melanjutkan atau mengejek. Eufisme, meninggal dunia, ya instead of mati, rumah tahanan, ya instead of penjara, mengurangi jumlah karyawan instead of memecat karyawan. Hiperbola, sudah aku bilang ribuan kali, aku sangat lapar seperti ingin makan seekor kuda. Aku sudah menunggu momen ini seumur hidup.